The alarm screamed through every corner of the space station. Red lights flashed on and off, making shadows dance on the metal walls. Every alien on the celestial vigil research station felt their hearts stop at the same moment. The Nix had escaped. Commander Vex stood in the control room and watched the security screens with growing horror. His crystalline skin, normally a calm blue color, had turned dark purple with fear. The containment field around Cell Zero was dead. The most dangerous creature in the known galaxy was now free to roam the station. How did this happen? He demanded. Power failure in Sector 7, reported his second officer, a four-armed being named Lieutenant Max. The backup systems did not activate in time. The creature was already through the walls before we could respond. Vex slammed his fist against the console. The Nix was not like other dangerous animals. It was something far worse. The creature was made of living shadow, a being that could pass through solid walls like they were made of smoke. Energy weapons did nothing to it. Physical weapons could not touch it. Its bite carried a poison so strong that it could kill a Valmorian warrior in 3 heartbeats. The galaxy had lost 200 soldiers and 3 warships just to capture this one creature. It had been found on a dead world, the last living thing on a planet that had once been full of life. The Nix had eaten everything else. Every animal, every plant, every insect. It was an apex predator that had evolved beyond all reason. So good at killing that it had destroyed its entire world. And now it was loose on a station with 847 people. Seal all sections, Commander Vex ordered. Nobody moves without armed escort. I want security teams in full combat armor with plasma rifles at maximum charge. Sir, Lieutenant Max said carefully, plasma rifles have no effect on the Nix. We tested this during capture. The energy passes right through its form. I know, Vex replied grimly, but it might slow the creature down. That is all we can hope for. The station was home to scientists from 12 different species. They studied dangerous life forms from across the galaxy, trying to understand them and find ways to protect civilization from threats. The Nix had been their most important subject. It was also their most secret one. If the Galactic Council knew that such a creature existed, there would be panic across 1,000 worlds. Commander, called out the communications officer. I am getting reports from multiple decks. Crew members are seeing shadows moving in places where there should be no shadows. The creature is hunting. Vex felt sick. The Nix did not just kill for food. Studies had shown that it enjoyed the hunt. It liked to feel the fear of its prey. It would sometimes keep victims alive for hours, playing with them like a cat plays with a mouse, before finally ending their suffering. Do we have a location on all senior staff? Vex asked. Most are accounted for, sir. Dr. Emma is in medical bay. Dr. Tom is in the laboratory. Private Kevin Miller is... The officer paused and checked the screen again. Private Kevin Miller is in his quarters in Residential Block 7. Vex closed his eyes for a moment. Kevin Miller was the station's only human. He'd been brought aboard 6 months ago as a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life forms. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel about a century ago. Most species considered them a curiosity at best. They were soft, slow, physically weak, and had very short lives compared to other intelligent beings. Most commanders would never allow a human near dangerous specimens. But Kevin had shown an unusual gift for understanding alien creatures. He could read their body language, predict their behavior, and sometimes even calm them down when they became aggressive. Still, he was fragile. A Nix could kill him in less than a second. Get me a security team to Residential Block 7 immediately, Vex ordered. The human is our most vulnerable crew member. Sir, the nearest team is 10 minutes away. They are dealing with a situation on Deck 4. The Nyx has already claimed 2 victims. 2 victims. Dex felt his crystalline heart crack with grief. 2 of his people were already dead or dying, and the nightmare had only just begun. Who? He asked quietly. Maintenance worker Jake found in the ventilation system. He's paralyzed but alive. Scientist Dr. Robert was attacked in Carter 7B. The officer's voice shook. We could hear him screaming over the communicator for several minutes before it stopped. The control room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Nyx had taken its time with Dr. Robert. Sir, the tactical officer suddenly spoke up. His voice was tight with fear. I am tracking the Nyx's movement pattern. It is not random. The creature is heading somewhere specific. Where? Residential Block 7. It is heading directly toward the human's quarters. Beck stared at the screen. The Nyx moved like smoke through the corridors, passing through walls and locked doors like they did not exist. Security barriers meant nothing to it. Armed guards could not stop it. And it was heading straight for Kevin Miller. Why would it target the human? Lieutenant Max wondered aloud. Humans are small and weak. They would not provide much food. Why not go after larger prey? The Nyx does not hunt for food alone, Dex reminded him. It hunts for pleasure. And humans are known throughout the galaxy for one thing. What is that, sir? Fear. Dex watched the shadow creature slide through another wall on the security feed. Humans feel fear more strongly than almost any other species. They have nightmares. They create horror stories for entertainment. Their entire evolution was shaped by fear of predators. He paused. To the Nyx, a human would be like a fine meal. The fear would be intense, pure, delicious. He turned to his crew with determination in his eyes. Get every available security officer to Residential Block 7. I do not care if they have to run through vacuum to get there. We are not losing the human tonight. The teams began to move, but Dex knew in his heart that they would be too late. The Nyx was too fast, too deadly, too impossible to stop. By the time help arrived, Kevin Miller would be dead. He said a quiet prayer to whatever gods might be listening. The human had been kind during his time on the station. He had smiled at everyone, learned all their names, remembered their birthdays. He deserved better than to die alone in the dock, torn apart by a monster from a dead world. The security feeds showed the Nyx reaching Residential Block 7. It paused outside one door, the shadows of its form rippling with anticipation. Then it passed through the door and disappeared from view. Dex waited for the screams to begin. The security teams moved through the station like soldiers going to war. They wore heavy combat armor that covered every part of their bodies. They carried plasma rifles set to maximum power. They knew the weapons would not kill the Nyx, but they carried them anyway because having something to hold made them feel less afraid. Team leader Ryan Brooks led the first group toward Residential Block 7. He was a Calmorian, a reptile-like species with tough green scales and yellow eyes. He had fought in 3 border wars and had faced down pirates, raiders, and hostile alien species. But nothing in his long career had prepared him for hunting the Nyx. Stay together. He ordered his team through the communication system. Nobody goes anywhere alone. If you see shadows moving where they should not be moving, report it immediately. Do not try to be a hero. His team consisted of 6 officers from different species. There was Private Lisa, a tall insect-like being with 4 arms and excellent night vision. There was Officer James, a furry mammal species known for their strong sense of smell. And there were others, each chosen for skills that might help track the creature. Team leader, Private Lisa reported, I am detecting unusual temperature patterns ahead. The corridor is getting colder. Ryan held up his fist, signaling everyone to stop. The Nyx absorbed heat from its surroundings. Where it went, The temperature dropped. Cold air meant the creature was nearby. Which direction? He asked. Ahead and to the left. Toward the humans' quarters. They moved forward slowly, checking every corner, watching every shadow. The lights in this section of the station were dim. Some had failed completely, leaving pools of darkness that seemed to breathe and shift. I hate this, muttered Officer James. I can smell fear everywhere. The whole station smells like fear. I cannot separate one scent from another. Focus, Ryan commanded. We have a job to do. They reached a junction in the corridor and found the first sign of the Nix's passage. A maintenance worker named Jake lay against the wall, his body completely still. His eyes were open and filled with terror, but he could not move or speak. The Nix's venom had paralyzed him. Private Lisa knelt beside the fallen worker. He is alive. His heart is beating, but the paralysis is complete. He will need immediate medical attention. Mark his location for the medical team, Ryan ordered. We cannot carry him and continue the mission. The human is the priority. It hurt to leave Jake behind, but Ryan knew they had no choice. If they stopped to help every victim, the Nix would reach the human long before they did. And once the creatures started feeding, there would be nothing left to save. They continued down the corridor. The temperature dropped further. Frost began to form on the metal walls. Their breath came out in white clouds. The Nix was very close now. Team leader, came Commander Thex's voice over the communicator. The creature has entered the human's quarters. You need to move faster. Understood, Commander. We are almost there. But even as he said the words, Ryan felt doubt creeping into his heart. What would they find when they reached the human's room? Would Kevin Miller still be alive? Or would they arrive to find only blood and shadows? The second security team was approaching from the other direction, led by Sergeant Amy, a veteran officer with 20 years of experience. Her team had found the remains of Dr. Robert in Corridor 7B. She had seen many terrible things in her career. But what the Nix had done to that poor scientist would haunt her nightmares forever. The creature took its time, she reported to command, her voice flat and professional. Dr. Robert suffered greatly before the end. The Nix is not just a predator. It is cruel. It enjoys causing pain. Sergeant, can you reach Residential Block 7? Commander Thex asked. We are 3 minutes out. My team is moving as fast as we can. The Nix is already inside the human's quarters. We have lost visual. The cameras in that section have failed. Amy cursed under her breath. Of course, the cameras had failed. The Nix generated some kind of field that disrupted electronic equipment. The closer you got to the creature, the less technology worked. It was as if the universe itself was afraid to look at the monster directly. We will get there in time, she said, though she did not believe her own words. Back in the control room, Dr. Enel watched the security feeds with growing horror. She was the station's chief medical officer, responsible for the health of everyone on board. She had treated injuries from accidents, alien diseases, and even combat wounds. But she had never felt so helpless. Kevin Miller was her friend. In the 6 months since his arrival, they had shared meals together, talked about their homes, and laughed at each other's jokes. Humans were strange creatures, so different from other species. But Kevin had a warmth about him that made everyone feel comfortable. And now he was trapped in a room with the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. Can we do anything? She asked Commander Thex. There must be something we can try. Our weapons are useless against the Nix. Our barriers cannot stop it. Our technology fails in its presence. Thex shook his head slowly. All we can do is wait and hope. Hope for what? I do not know, Doctor. A miracle, perhaps. Emma turned back to the screens. The video from Kevin's corridor was just static now, white noise filling the display. but the audio feed was still working, barely. She could hear sounds from the humans' quarters. Soft sounds. Strange sounds. Not screaming. Not crying. Something else entirely. "Commander," she said suddenly. "Are you hearing this?" Dex leaned closer to the speaker. The sounds coming from Kevin's room were unlike anything he had expected. There was no terror. No death. Instead, there was something that sounded almost like humming. "Is the human singing?" he asked in disbelief. "I think so," Emma replied. "And listen. There is another sound underneath it." They both fell silent, straining to hear. And then they caught it. A low, rumbling vibration that seemed to pulse through the audio feed. It was not a sound that any of them had ever heard before, but Emma recognized it from her studies. She had spent years researching alien biology. She knew what that sound meant. "Commander," she whispered. "That sound. I think the Nyx is purring." Dex stared at her like she had lost her mind. The Nyx did not purr. The Nyx did not make any sound except the screams of its victims. The creature was a pure predator, incapable of comfort or contentment, and yet the sound continued. Low and steady. Almost peaceful. "Security teams, hold your positions," Dex ordered suddenly. "Do not enter the humans' quarters. I repeat, do not enter. Something unexpected is happening." Ryan Brooks stopped outside Kevin's door, plasma rifle raised. Through the metal, he could hear the impossible sounds. The human's soft humming. The creature's strange purring. And nothing else. No fighting. No fear. No death. "Commander," he said quietly. "What are your orders?" There was a long pause before Dex answered. "Wait," the commander said. "Just wait." And so they waited, standing in the frozen corridor outside the human's door, listening to sounds that should not exist. The galaxy's deadliest creature was inside that room with the station's most fragile member. And somehow, impossibly, both of them were still alive. Ryan Brooks had faced death many times in his long career. He had been shot at, stabbed, poisoned, and left floating in the vacuum of space. But nothing had ever terrified him more than what he was about to do. He was going to open that door. Commander. Dex had given the order 5 minutes ago. The strange sounds from inside the human's quarters had not changed. The soft humming continued. The impossible purring went on and on. Whatever was happening in that room, it was not what anyone expected. "Security teams, prepare to breach," Ryan ordered. "On my mark." His team stood ready. Their weapons were raised, their muscles tight with fear. Every one of them expected to die the moment the door opened. The Nyx would come flowing out like living darkness, and there would be nothing they could do to stop it. 3, 2, 1, breach. The door slid open with a hiss. Emergency lights cast harsh white beams into the small room. Ryan rushed inside with his plasma rifle leading the way, ready to fire at the first sign of movement. He froze. The room was simple and small, like all human quarters on the station. There was a bed against one wall, a desk with a computer, a bookshelf filled with actual paper books, and a comfortable reading chair near the window that looked out into space. Kevin Miller sat in that chair. His eyes were closed, his breathing slow and peaceful. He looked like he was having the most restful sleep of his life. And curled up in his lap, its shadowy form somehow looking almost solid, was the Nyx. The galaxy's deadliest creature was purring like a kitten. "Nobody move," Ryan whispered. His voice came out broken and strange. Nobody breathe. His team stood frozen in the doorway. None of them could process what they were seeing. The Nyx, the monster that had killed 200 soldiers, the creature that had murdered Dr. Robert just hours ago, was sleeping peacefully on a human's lap. Kevin's eyes fluttered open. He looked down at the creature in his lap, then up at the armed soldiers crowding his doorway. His expression shifted from sleepy confusion to mild concern. "Oh," he said quietly. "Hey guys, what is going on?" The Nix's eyes opened as well. They were not really eyes, just pools of absolute darkness set in a face made of shadow. The creature looked at the security team and made a sound that sent primal terror shooting through every alien in the room. It was a warning, a threat, a promise of death to anyone who came closer. Then it nuzzled deeper into Kevin's lap and closed its eyes again. "Mr. Miller," Ryan managed to say, "please remain calm. That creature is extremely dangerous." Shadow? Kevin reached down and stroked the Nix's form with casual affection. His fingers passed through the surface of the creature like dipping into cool water. "She showed up about an hour ago. Seemed really stressed out. I figured she just needed somewhere quiet to rest." He had named it. He had petted it. He was treating the most dangerous creature in the galaxy like it was a scared cat that had wandered into his room. "Sir," came the tactical officer's voice through Ryan's communicator, "I am reading the creature's vital signs. They are completely different from baseline measurements. Stress hormones are almost gone. Heart rate is low and stable. The Nix is relaxed." Ryan did not know what to do. His training covered many situations. Enemy attacks, system failures, medical emergencies, fire. Nothing in his training covered what to do when the target you came to kill was taking a nap on someone's lab. "Commander," he reported slowly, "the human is alive and unharmed. The Nix is calm. I do not think it wants to leave." "Do not attempt to remove the creature," Commander Dex responded immediately. "If the Nix feels threatened, it will attack. Maintain distance and observe." Kevin looked at the soldiers with their big guns and scared eyes. He seemed more confused than frightened. "Is this about the lockdown? I heard the alarms earlier, but I thought it was just a drill." "Mr. Miller, the Nix escaped from containment. It has killed people tonight. You are in extreme danger." Kevin looked down at the creature in his lap. Shadow opened one eye and looked back at him. Something passed between them, some kind of understanding that no one else in the room could see. "She does not seem dangerous to me," Kevin said simply. "She seems lonely." The statement hung in the air like something impossible. Lonely. The creature that had eaten every living thing on its home planet. The monster that enjoyed watching its prey suffer. Lonely. "Mr. Miller, you do not understand what this creature is capable of. It does not feel emotions like loneliness. It is a pure predator. It exists only to hunt and kill." Kevin tilted his head slightly, the way humans did when they were thinking about something. "Have you ever actually asked her what she feels?" Ryan had no response to that. Of course, they had not asked the Nix what it felt. The creature could not communicate. It was not intelligent in the way that people were intelligent. It was just an animal. A very dangerous animal. But as he stood there watching, Ryan began to wonder. The Nix had not attacked Kevin. It had not even tried. The creature had walked right past armed guards, squeezed through solid walls, and traveled across half the station to reach this one room. And when it got here, instead of killing, it had curled up in a human's lap and gone to sleep. Why? Dr. Emma's voice came through the communicator. "Security team, I need you to set up monitoring equipment in the corridor. Do not enter the room any further. I am coming down there myself to observe." "Doctor, that is not safe," Ryan protested. "Nothing about this situation is safe. But we need to understand what is happening. The Nix has never behaved this way before. Never. If the human has somehow formed a connection with the creature, we need to study it." Kevin continued to stroke Shadow's form, his movements slow and gentle. The Nix made that strange purring sound again, a vibration that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "She is really soft," Kevin said to no one in particular. "Like cool water, but somehow solid. and she has been through a lot tonight. She was scared when she came in. I could tell. You could tell? Ryan asked despite himself. Yeah, her shadow parts were all spiky and jagged. Now look at her. She is smooth, calm. Kevin smiled down at the creature. She just needed someone to be nice to her. Ryan looked at his team. They were all staring at the human like he had grown a second head. Humans were supposed to be one of the weakest species in the galaxy. They had no natural weapons, no special abilities, no defenses. They were small and soft and lived barely 100 years. But somehow, this one small human had done something that 200 soldiers could not do. He had stopped the Nyx, not with weapons, not with technology, not with force, not with kindness. Orders, team leader? Private Lisa asked quietly. Ryan lowered his weapon slowly. The Nyx watched him do it, those dark eyes following every movement. But the creature did not attack. It just watched, and then it closed its eyes again and went back to sleep. We hold position, Ryan said, and we wait for the doctors to figure out what in the galaxy is happening here. Kevin yawned and leaned back in his chair. Can you guys turn off the red lights? Shadow does not like them. They hurt her eyes. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy did not like red lights. And a human knew this because he had bothered to pay attention. Ryan reached over and switched off his flashlight. Thank you, Kevin said. She appreciates it. Shadow made a sound that might have been agreement, and the security team stood there in the darkness, watching the impossible, trying to understand a universe that had suddenly stopped making sense. 3 days had passed since the Nyx escaped from containment. 3 days since the galaxy's deadliest creature had chosen to curl up in a human's lap instead of killing him. 3 days since everything the scientific community thought they knew about predator behavior had been proven wrong. Dr. Emma had set up a research station in the corridor, outside Kevin's quarters. She spent every waking hour studying the impossible bond between the human and the shadow creature. Other scientists came and went, but Emma stayed. She needed to understand. The Nyx has not left Kevin's side for 72 hours, she reported to Commander Dex during their daily meeting. It follows him everywhere. When he sleeps, it sleeps beside him. When he eats, it waits patiently nearby. When security officers get too close, it becomes aggressive, but it has not actually attacked anyone since the night of the escape. Commander Dex studied the video feeds on his screen. Kevin was walking down a corridor with Shadow flowing beside him like a loyal dog. Other crew members pressed themselves against the walls as they passed, terrified of the creature, but unable to look away from the strange pair. Has the human explained how he achieved this? Dex asked. Kevin says he did not do anything special. The Nyx came into his room, seemed distressed, and he offered it comfort. That is all. Emma shook her head slowly. He genuinely does not understand why everyone finds this remarkable. Because it is impossible. The Nyx has no capacity for bonding. Every study we have ever done shows that it is a solitary predator with no social instincts. It should not be capable of forming attachments. And yet here we are. Dr. Tom, the lead xenobiologist, had been running tests non-stop since the incident. He was exhausted, his fur matted, and his eyes red from lack of sleep. But he had finally found something worth reporting. I believe I understand what happened, he announced at the emergency science meeting that afternoon. Or at least I have a theory. The meeting room was packed with scientists from every department. Everyone wanted to know how a weak, fragile human had tamed the untamable. Please explain, Commander Dex said. Dr. Tom activated the display screen. Complex charts and biological readouts filled the wall. The Nyx evolved on the world we call Terminus 7. It was a planet rich with life until approximately 10 million years ago, when the Nyx species emerged as the dominant predator. They were so efficient at hunting that they drove every other species to extinction within a few 100,000 years. We know this already, Emma said impatiently. Yes, but consider what that means. The Nyx evolved in an environment where everything feared them. Every creature they encountered existed only as prey. They never developed social bonds because there was no benefit to bonding. Other Nyx were competitors, not companions. Other species were food, not friends. Tom changed the display to show brain scans of the captured Nyx taken before its escape. The Nyx has structures in its brain similar to what we see in social species. The capacity for bonding exists in their biology, but it was never activated because their environment never required it. You're saying the Nyx could form bonds, but never had a reason to? Emma asked. Exactly. Until now. The display changed again, this time showing human biological data. Humans are perhaps the most social species in the known galaxy. They evolved as pack hunters and community builders. Their survival depended on forming strong bonds with other members of their group. But here's the remarkable thing. Humans do not limit their bonding to their own species. He showed images of humans with various Earth animals. Dogs, cats, horses, even dangerous predators like lions and wolves. Humans form emotional attachments to almost anything. They bond with animals, with plants, with machines, even with fictional characters in their stories. They have something called pets, which are animals that serve no practical purpose except to receive and return affection. Commander Dex frowned. I have heard of this behavior. It has always seemed irrational to me. It seems irrational to most species. But it gave humans a powerful advantage on their home world. By bonding with other creatures, they gained allies. They domesticated wolves and turned them into hunting partners. They tamed horses and gained speed. They formed relationships with countless species and turned potential threats into friends. Dr. Tom paused for effect. The Nyx has never encountered a creature like this. Every species it has ever met responded to it with fear. Prey runs, predators attack. Even intelligent species like ourselves react with terror and aggression. But Kevin Miller did something completely different. He offered it comfort, Emma said softly. Yes, when the Nyx entered his room, Kevin did not scream. He did not run. He did not reach for a weapon. He saw a creature in distress, and his human instincts told him to help. He spoke softly. He moved slowly. He projected calm and safety instead of fear and aggression. The display showed new data from the Nyx's current biological readings. Look at these hormone levels. The Nyx is producing chemicals that we have never seen in its species before. These are bonding hormones, similar to what humans produce when they care for something. The creature's brain is doing something it has never done in 10 million years of evolution. It is learning to feel connection, Emma whispered. More than that. The Nyx has imprinted on Kevin Miller. It now sees him as something completely new in its experience. Not prey, not predator, not competitor. Kevin is the first creature to ever offer the Nyx acceptance. And the Nyx, despite its evolution, despite its history, despite everything that makes it a perfect killing machine, has responded to that acceptance with loyalty. The room fell silent. Scientists looked at each other with expressions of wonder and disbelief. Everything they thought they knew about predator biology was being rewritten by one, human's kindness. Commander Dex spoke first. Are you saying that humans are capable of bonding with any creature? Even monsters? I am saying that humans are unique in the galaxy, Dr. Tom replied. Most species react to threats in predictable ways. Fight or flight. But humans have a third option that they use almost without thinking. They try to make friends. They approach unknown creatures with curiosity instead of fear. They offer their hand before they reach for their weapon. He looked at the image of Kevin walking with Shadow by his side. The Nyx was the loneliest creature in the universe. It had destroyed everything on its home world and was left with nothing but hunger and emptiness. Then it met a human who looked at it and saw not a monster to be feared, but a living being that might need comfort. Emma felt tears forming in her eyes. She thought about Kevin, sweet and gentle Kevin, who remembered everyone's birthday and always had a kind word for the maintenance workers. He had looked at the galaxy's deadliest creature and decided to be nice to it. "What do we do now?" she asked. "We observe," Dr. Tom said. "This has never happened before." The bond between Kevin and the Nyx could teach us more about both species than decades of traditional research. But we must be careful. The Nyx is still incredibly dangerous. It has not harmed Kevin, but it remains protective and hostile to everyone else. "The creature killed 2 people the night it escaped," Commander Dex reminded them. "Whatever bond it has formed does not erase that." "No," Tom agreed. "The Nyx is still a predator. It will still hunt if it feels threatened or if Kevin is in danger. But perhaps with time and patience, we can help it learn better ways to exist. Kevin has shown us that the creature is capable of change. Now we must figure out how to guide that change in a positive direction." The meeting ended with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear to everyone in the room. The universe had become a more complicated place than they ever imagined. And somewhere on the station, a human sat reading a book while a shadow monster slept at his feet, purring softly in contentment. Neither of them knew they had just changed galactic history forever. 3 months had passed since the night Shadow escaped from her cell. The Celestial Vigil Research Station had changed in ways that nobody could have predicted. Kevin Miller walked through the main corridor with Shadow flowing beside him like dark water. Crew members no longer pressed themselves against walls when they passed. Some even nodded in greeting. A few brave souls had started saying hello to Shadow herself, though the creature rarely responded to anyone except Kevin Commander. Dex had given Kevin a new title, Head of Xenobiological Relations. It was a position created specifically for him, a recognition of his unique ability to connect with dangerous alien life forms. His first official assignment was to continue studying Shadow and documenting her behavior. She had a good night, Kevin reported during the morning briefing. "No nightmares. She slept straight through until 0600 hours. "The creature has nightmares?" Commander Dex asked. "Yeah. Sometimes she dreams about her home world, I think. She gets all twitchy and makes these sad sounds. I usually just stroke her until she calms down." Kevin shrugged like this was the most normal thing in the universe. She's been through a lot. 10 million years of loneliness is hard to process. Double quotes. Dr. Emma smiled at her friend. Kevin had not changed at all since becoming famous across the galaxy. He was still the same kind, gentle soul who saw the best in everyone and everything. The fact that everyone now included a shadow monster from a dead world did not seem to bother him at all. "The Galactic Council has been in contact," Dex announced. "They want to know what we intend to do with the Nyx long term." "Her name is Shadow," Kevin said firmly. "And we're not doing anything with her. She's not a weapon or a tool. She's a living being who deserves respect and care. Kevin, you must understand the Council's concern. The Nyx has killed thousands of creatures across its existence. Many in the government believe it should be terminated while it is docile." Kevin's expression hardened in a way that Emma had never seen before. Shadow, sensing her human's mood, rose up beside him. The creature's form expanded, shadows spreading across the walls of the briefing room. Her eyes, those pools of absolute darkness, fixed on Commander Dex with unmistakable menace. "Nobody is terminating anyone," Kevin said quietly. "Shadow hasn't hurt a single person since she chose me. She's learning. She's growing. She's becoming something better than what her evolution made her. The creature killed 2 people the night it escaped, because she was scared and alone and surrounded by beings who wanted to hurt her. How would you react if you woke up in a cage, surrounded by people pointing weapons at you? Kevin reached out and touched Shadow's form. The creature immediately calmed, her shadows settling back to their normal shape. She needs time and patience, not death. Commander Dex was silent for a long moment. He had commanded this station for 15 years. He had faced countless difficult decisions, but nothing had prepared him for a human who could calm a monster with a touch. The Council wants to send observers, he finally said. Scientists and military advisors who will study the bond between you and the creature. They want to know if this can be replicated with other dangerous species. Kevin nodded slowly. Fine, they can watch. But they're not touching Shadow, and they're not taking her away from me. We're a package deal now. Shadow made a sound that might have been agreement. She pressed closer to Kevin's side, her form wrapping around him like a protective blanket. Dr. Emma stepped forward. I'll coordinate with the incoming team. Kevin, maybe you should take Shadow to the observation deck. It might be good for both of you to have some quiet time before the outsiders arrive. Good idea. Kevin scratched behind where Shadow's ears might be. Come on, girl. Let's go look at the stars. They left the briefing room together, the human and the monster, and the crew of the Celestial Vigil watched them go with a mixture of wonder and affection. In 3 months, everyone had gotten used to the strange pair. Some people had even started leaving treats for Shadow outside Kevin's door. Though nobody was quite sure what shadow creatures ate in the observation deck, Kevin settled into his favorite chair by the big window. Stars stretched out before them, infinite points of light against the endless dark. Shadow curled around his feet, her form spreading across the floor like spilled ink. You know what I've been thinking about? Kevin said softly. Everyone keeps asking how I did it. How I wasn't scared when you came into my room that night. Shadow made a questioning sound. I guess I just figured you looked lonely. And everyone deserves a friend, right? Even scary shadow monsters from dead worlds. He smiled down at her. My grandmother used to say that there's no such thing as a monster, just creatures that haven't been loved enough yet. I never really understood what she meant until I met you. Shadow rose up slightly, her form shifting until something like a head rested on Kevin's knee. She looked up at him with those dark eyes, and Kevin could have sworn he saw something new in them. Something that had not been there 3 months ago. Trust, gratitude, love. I know you're scared of what the council might decide, Kevin continued, but I won't let them hurt you. We're family now, Shadow, and family protects each other. The creature made that purring sound that had become so familiar over the past months. It rumbled through the observation deck like distant thunder, but somehow it felt warm instead of threatening. Outside the window, a ship against the stars. The observers were arriving early. Kevin watched it approach with calm determination. Let them come. Let them bring their scientists and their soldiers and their fears. Let them try to understand what had happened on this station. They would study Shadow like she was a specimen. They would analyze her and test her and write reports about her. But they would never understand her. Not really. Because understanding required something that most beings had forgotten how to do. It required opening your heart to something different. It required offering kindness without expecting anything in return. It required looking at a monster and choosing to see a friend. Humans were strange that way. They approached the universe not with fear or caution, but with this wild, reckless hope that everything could be good if you just gave it a chance. And sometimes, impossibly, the universe proved them right. Shadow shifted beside Kevin, her darkness somehow comforting instead of cold. She had made a decision in the months since choosing this human, a decision that her species had never made in 10 million years of existence. She would protect this one. She would stay by his side through whatever came next. She would learn to be better, to be something more than the killing machine evolution had designed, because Kevin Miller had given her something that no creature in the galaxy had ever offered before. He had given her a home. Commander Dex filed his final report to High Command that evening. He recommended that humanity be reclassified from primitive curiosity to species of exceptional interest, not because they were dangerous in the traditional sense, but because they possessed something the galaxy had forgotten. They knew how to make monsters feel safe, and in a universe full of darkness and fear, that might be the most powerful weapon of all. The last line of his report would be quoted in history books for centuries to come. Humans do not see the universe as we do. Where we see threats, they see potential friends. Where we see monsters, they see creatures in need of understanding. They approach all living things with a reckless, almost foolish openness, and somehow, impossibly, that openness is returned. Perhaps this is their greatest gift to the galaxy. Not their technology, not their creativity, but their simple, stubborn belief that everything deserves a chance to be loved. The Nyx was not tamed. It was not broken. It was simply offered something it had never been given before: acceptance. And that, in the end, made all the difference. Far below, in the observation deck, Kevin Miller fell asleep in his chair with shadow curled around him like a living blanket. The stars shone through the window, cold and distant dot, but for the first time in 10 million years, a creature born of shadow and death did not feel alone. She had found her human, and she would never let him go.